So it was pretty much just like the Google Meet and my computer and my dining room table at home. I really wanted to make sure that I was like connected with everybody, so I didn't have the extra camera, because I just kind of wanted to be in that meeting style. So it was always like tiled and just talking with everybody. And then I would go into groups. So I did a lot of breakouts, and I based it off the groups that are in this class. So like, you know how you have groups of 6 in here? I would just break them off into table groups. And I would have multiple tabs open so I could like go and discuss books with them. Tried to keep it as close as I could to being in person, but you know, it was a little bit hard logistically, but having multiple computers helped. I think it's not really that I changed something specific, honestly, but my mindset shifted. You know, I started thinking more about mental health. I started thinking more about the whole student. And then kind of realizing how much we all have to juggle all the time. So I think what shifted is I pared down, you know, like I don't like having a ton of assignments now. Not that I really had a ton before, but having less now, because why have so many assignments that is a ton for me to grade, a ton for the students to do, and those assignments don't always inform the summative. So we just kind of shrunk down a lot of those little mini assignments, and that I think was hugely effective, and turn those mini assignments into discussions or annotating or reading, because that's what builds the paper, not just some little extra kind of assignment that kind of relates but isn't connected. And I didn't do those very often, but I get rid of them completely, and I'll never do them. Yes, and I think that you guys are going to have a lot of homework in college for sure, and my concern is teaching you all of you, what you guys need to know to be successful in college. And if I just gave you a ton of homework to do at home where you don't have access to me, and that used to happen a lot. I'd give these big epic essays at home or all this kind, and so I'd get emails at midnight or 1 a.m, Ms. Caulfield, you know, help me with this, and da-da-da, and that doesn't make any sense, you know. If I can do it in class like I'm doing, then those questions get answered in class. And the stress isn't at home at 1 o'clock in the morning. And then the students know how to write. So when they are in the dorm at 1 o'clock in the morning, they've already gone through it. I was there, I helped them, they have the blueprint, and they can write so much better.
After going to CU, I had a major in marketing. I started searching around because I was uncertain what I wanted to do and started volunteering all over the place, and volunteered in a special education classroom at what's now Manhattan Middle School, working with this awesome special ed teacher, and that kind of lit my fire. And then I got into grad school and then got a master's in special ed and taught special ed for 8 years after. First major was marketing, and then I had this epiphany moment where I stood up a split second before everybody else in the class. There were about 100, 150 kids in the class, and I thought to myself, how many of these people do I actually like? And I started counting on my hand, and that's how far I got out of 150 people. And then it was massive crisis time, because I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? I can't work with people I don't really enjoy. So then that's where I started volunteering and trying to figure it all out. Through the volunteering, like just being a lost soul, having no idea, I call it my lost 20s. There was like a middle from 22 to like 25, 26. I just had no idea what the heck I wanted to do, so I did a lot of stuff. Working in a restaurant, volunteering all over the places, a couple different places, just to try to figure out the best course of action for me. You know, this school year, I would say it's the second hardest school year, harder than last year. The only harder school year was my first year of teaching. And that's where I taught kids with emotional disabilities in elementary school, all core subjects. But yeah, something about kids coming back post-pandemic, all of a sudden you guys have double the classes. So we as teachers feel your stress. and you know, pressure from admin, district admin. So there's just a lot of pressure this year. You know, like today I woke up saying I'm just gonna make this day an incredible day. Like, why not? Just get through all the nonsense and just have a good time. It was pretty horrible. Yeah, once you start teaching and you look out a sea of just little tiles and you're just talking to yourself, like that was awful. So I just endlessly harass students to keep their cameras on, like every single period, every single day, multiple times per period. Like turn your camera on, turn your camera on, turn your camera on. And then at least you can see, you know, it's just so weird. You see all the little tiles and then you can just figure it out from there, you know, just to try to help it. It's tough. Definitely not. They were less open to asking questions for sure. Way better in person, just when you can establish. For me, my whole teaching game is establishing a relationship with kids, so I get them to do more stuff than they would for other teachers, because they like me, like the subject as a result of my weirdness in the classroom. And it just makes it so much better. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm a computer guy, so whatever. I'm videoing myself, and a lot of stuff was similar. You had to do some changes, but the curriculum's still the curriculum. Well, so the difference was having to teach in hybrid environment, right? So you've got half the kids online and half the kids here, and that's just very weird to have divided attention. And we were told to focus more energy on the students in the classroom. So I would always try to draw the kids that were at home into the conversation as well, because it's so hard when you've got that divided classroom to kind of make the best of both worlds. It's kind of making the worst of both worlds, you know, just because everything's divided. Definitely a little less homework. Curiously, I gave way more quizzes than I normally give, just because it worked out better and I could get the kids more focus on individual lessons that way. So I gave quizzes like every other section instead of every 4 or 5 sections, which I think really helped kids to focus. Online teaching. I have no interest in ever online teaching again. Like, that's honestly the only thing I would change. Like, I can't wait till we all have our masks off, because it cuts so much communication, only being able to see the eyes, you know? It's just like, I can't see if you're smiling behind your mask or not, you know? And I think oftentimes the eyes get misinterpreted. Pardon me, we'll have some awkward lean over moments. I mean, not really. It was pretty similar, because we had longer periods. So honestly, not really. It's just different pacing, right? Because I taught all of Algebra 2 in a semester versus all of Algebra 2 in a whole year. So that made it different. So the quizzes were way different than I normally do. Like, you normally do a quiz review day and a quiz day, and I didn't have any of those. So that freed up more time for me to teach. But I think teachers often get so freaked out about the pacing of everything, and I just tend not to worry about it. Like, it's all going to work out. And I have a general plan that's good enough. I don't like planning out a whole semester, because it depends on you guys how fast or slow I can move, and I'll slow it down when I need to. You know, I just did that in this last chapter. I taught the first 2 sections of this chapter and just thought to myself, there's no way these kids are ready for a new section. Put the brakes on and stopped, and they're like, oh, thank God, we exactly needed that. Make sure you give me the length of QR, not just what X or N. For sure, just because like my whole thing about teaching is the relationship I have with students, and when you put this massive barrier in between the ability to get that good vibe going between teacher and student, I think it just makes teaching so much harder. I think that's the hardest thing for me this school year, because I enjoy the students. Like, that's why I do it. It's not the curriculum, it's not math, it's not whatever I teach, it's the students which light my fire, so to speak. So when that's diminished, that's a buzzkill. Like, that sucks.
Okay. If you have, remember the hundreds that we did yesterday? 100,
the direction to make sure you answered the question. So AB is 4x. So I can plug the 5 in for the x. Very much so. I mean, the anxiety levels amongst students is so much higher. I'll ask kids like fist to 5 anxiety level, and it's always like 4 or 5. Like you guys are hanging on by fingernails. And that's the thing, like you guys have that vibe, teachers have that vibe, admin has that vibe, you know, because we lost an administrator, 2 teachers leave in the middle of the year. Like that takes an effect on faculty, right? Because especially when certain teachers leave that you would never expect to leave, then it's like shakes you up a little bit and you're like, oh God, can't believe. Never marked a triangle the entire test. And you miss, like that's probably about 15% total on your test, lower grade. Right, so letter grade and a half, just because that kid didn't mark the triangles. So, like the reverse gauntlet is my favorite thing in the school, where we can like hug it out at the end and we're like, yeah, I'm so proud of you. It's like the best thing. I love that thing, you know. You guys walk in as freshmen all terrified, walking through that gauntlet, you know, and then you come out, you see like the big, huge football player who's like just tears streaming down his face, you know. Like I love those moments where it's just like, we're just showing appreciation and respect for one another, and that's just awesome. Can't believe it.
Can you roll? Anybody remember 200? Okay, so it's like 292. 200. Okay?
Almost. Not just 2, but. Well, it's getting less and less important to colleges, but it's also a test that measures something, right? Doesn't measure exactly what we want it to measure. Tests pretty much never do, right? But it is a measure of you guys against your peers. So in that, to me, it has validity.
And so you roll your wrist towards the higher number or the lower number to make it more clear. 76. Nope. It's only like if it's 167, 167 numbers and the other person right, and then the numbers that are going to be on the board.